Welcome to the Hadoop course from Eduonix. Let's just take a moment to introduce the course. Firstly, Hadoop. What is it? Well, Hadoop sits firmly in the center of the world of big data. And this world of big data has been evolving hugely since Hadoop was first released a few years ago. When Hadoop was first released, Hadoop was simply a distributed file system that ran on a computer cluster and enabled you to write what are known as MapReduce jobs. And a MapReduce job simply takes unstructured data and turns it into structured data. So that's what Hadoop was when it first was introduced. But the evolution of Hadoop has been intense, and today Hadoop means so much more than that. It means that you have a distributed file system that runs MapReduce jobs on a cluster, but it also means a big ecosystem that has many components, and new components are released all the time. It also means there are two versions: the initial version 1 of MapReduce and cluster design, and the new version 2 cluster design, sometimes known as Yarn. And it also means the ecosystem, the different important components you may have heard of, like Hive, Pig, Mahout, Crunch. So Hadoop is a complex term. So during the course we seek to 1. Provide a context so we can understand the terminology. What do all the word means? Secondly, understand the layers. A good way, tried and tested way, of understanding complex computer systems is to look at the layers involved. And that's a way to break the system down to get a better understanding of what's going on. So we look at the layers, starting with the infrastructure layer. We look at the sort of hardware that Hadoop runs on, now and in the past. Then we look at the supporting operating system issues, and then the actual operating system that gives rise to the distributed file system. So we have a local file system running on an operating system, then we have a distributed file system that is an operating system. So we look at the layers involved there. We understand the evolution, because we can't understand the complexity of Hadoop unless we understand how it's evolved from its initial source code. Then, talking of source code, we learn how to write the code at both a high and a low level. We look at the low level Java, and then we look at the higher level scripting language. Then, when we are getting our source code working and we have some demonstration projects, we learn how to solve and debug the issues that arise when we write MapReduce and Hadoop ecosystem related code. And in doing that, we encompass a flow. We finally learn this flow. When we are working with Hadoop, we are working with a complex system, but we can manage that complex system in terms of a flow, and that flow follows the following pattern. For any Hadoop component, whether it be a MapReduce job or some higher level job with one of the ecosystem components of Hadoop, we will always have dependencies. There will be resources that code needs to run. So we need to manage those dependencies, get the dependencies in the right place and the right version of those dependencies. And once we have a dependency management system in place, then we iterate development against that dependency. So we need to follow good programming, good coding practice, iterative design, rapid application development. So we iterate our development against a managed set of dependencies. And finally, we need to package and deploy our final application to run it on a Hadoop cluster. So that's the flow that we will impart in the course, to understand the dependencies, whether they be hardware or software, and manage those dependencies. Then how to, once we have a managed dependency system, how to develop code and applications against that set of dependencies, and finally how to package and deploy the application once we have developed it. So that's the outline and the introduction to our Hadoop course here at Eduonix, and it's my sincere hope that you get a lot out of the course and that you enjoy it at the same time.